Hey Ben,
My man, how are you, sir?
good man. What's going on? All right, so we're live. This is episode 2 of State of the Market. So the main point of this whole thing, just like we talked about last week, is for anybody who has any questions in the next 20, 30 minutes to log on to Facebook or YouTube, or I think it's on LinkedIn today too, and just ask questions. So we're going to talk as much as possible to fill up the space. But really, the point here is for anybody who has any questions about mortgages or real estate, or kind of where the market is right now, um, to ask us some questions. So we're going to hang out for 20 or 30 minutes, and we can see your comments. Whoever's watching, we can see your comments over here, and we can pull them straight into the video and address those questions. So
For sure.
that's it. This is our information up on the screen. I'm Tyler Stanley with the Stanley Group and Keller Williams Realty. Ben Bell of the Bell Mortgage team is here as well. And we are in the market every day. This is what we do 24/7, literally 7 days a week, all the time.
Every day.
So we know what's going on, and we're in the market right now. There's a lot of things changing, and a lot of stuff that we talked about last week and Ben mostly talked about, was the market shifting and everything that's going on with interest rates and inflation and all that stuff. And nobody has a crystal ball, but we can definitely tell you week to week, if you're here with us on Thursday at 4 p.m. for this live stream, we can definitely tell you what's happening right now, because Ben is seeing it on the mortgage side, and I'm seeing it on the ground with buyers and sellers every day. So we're going to keep you updated as best we can on exactly what's happening in the market right now.
So going to that, Tyler, like what have you seen this week?
So my team got 2 buyers under contract, 2 groups of buyers under contract this week. And we still saw a lot of competition. One of those was a condo in Midtown that had some competition, even though it had been sitting on the market for a little bit. They had done a price reduction, but we ended up getting that one under contract. We were competing, I think, against one other offer on that one. But then we had another one, a large single family home out in Douglas County on a golf course. And that one, we were competing against 5 or 6 other offers. So even though maybe some buyers are gone, I mean, this house is in the 600 price range too. So even in that price range, it's still very competitive. Even with interest rates going up, maybe some buyers have been taken out, but we're still seeing these like very, competitive multiple offer situations. On the one that we had with the single family home, like I said, 5 or 6 offers that we were competing against. And also we had to go in with an escalation clause that ended up being about 75,000 over list price for the escalation. We ended up not having to go that high up with the purchase price. We were prepared. The buyer was prepared to go that high on the escalation. And we also did an appraisal gap.
Wow.
So the buyer agreed to pay up to 30,000 over the appraised value up to the purchase price. So, I mean, this is how competitive it still is right now. And I know Ben's going to show us some stuff about mortgages. That's one of the main things we're going to talk about today is pre-approval and how you get like the best terms with your pre-approval, and how you get to have the best interest rate, the best monthly payments, all that kind of stuff, and get in there squeaky clean and not have to worry about any surprises showing up once you get into underwriting. So Ben's going to talk about that, and I'm also going to show you guys at some point in this stream today sort of what the market actually looks like this week in the last 7 days. So I'm real quick. You know what? Actually, I'll do that first since I have this thing pulled up right here. So we're looking at, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger right here. Okay. So we're looking at FMLS. So this is the Georgia, this is FMLS. This is like mostly North Georgia, the Atlanta metro area. But this right here, which we have seen basically for the last, nine to 12 months is we have some new listings here, quite a few new listings in the last 7 days, 2,684, but pending listings is higher than the new listings, and closed listings is about 300 higher than that. So we're not,
That's crazy.
yeah, we're not having any kind of like, we're not able to make up any ground with new listings if more listings are going pending and closing, right? And let me go back. Let me go to that thing. Well, I'll pull that up in a second. But anyway, yeah, that's crazy. That's what we're seeing right now. I don't have any questions or comments yet. Anybody have a question about any of this this stuff we've talked about so far? Guess not. How's the mortgage world right now? Are you getting a lot of folks applying for mortgages this week?
Yeah, I mean, people are still applying. It's just, kind of back what you were just showing, just inventory. It's just if you're lucky to get the first house you put a contract in on or offer in on, man, that's great.
Mhm.
But I'm not seeing that. I think seems like it's probably an average of 3 or 4 offers before a buyer gets something accepted. So that's just what
Yeah,
I mean. It probably varies from lender to lender.
sure.
As far as mortgage rates this week, they actually improved from last week.
Oh yeah.
So the 10-year, I think the 10-year Treasury was down. I think it hit like 2.75 this week, which is great. I think it got even as low as 2.7. So it was a good week, and hopefully that will continue. I know that the Fed, what we talked about last week, the Fed plans on raising their short-term Fed fund rate in June and July by 0.5 point in those months. So we'll see what mortgage rates do. As I've told people in the past, and you can look at the historical data, is that even when the Fed fund rate does go up, a lot of the time the mortgage rates go down. So
Right.
because they're easing that inflation, and as we talked about last week, inflation is the arch enemy of treasuries. So once they get that inflation under control, I'm really hoping that we settle somewhere in that high threes, low fours for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I just think that's a healthy rate for everybody. What we saw in 2020 and 2021, that's not healthy. There's no reason to have a 30-year fixed rate mortgages in the twos.
Right.
Me,
Um,
I don't know.
so to get on what we were going to talk about this week,
Yeah.
which is pre-approval and how you get the best rate, getting what your credit score needs to look like, what your debt to income ratio needs to look like, those kind of things. Is it a weird question to ask like this week with the Fed rate and all those kind of correlations? Is it a weird question to ask like what's the lowest mortgage interest rate on a 30-year fix that you've seen in the last week?
It depends on. That's kind of like a loaded question that we'll talk about today.
Okay.
But for the paying no discount points, what we're seeing, like some lenders throw in one discount point and they give you this rate. Some people give you a rate with no discount point. So when we're talking to borrowers and they're going to be looking at different lenders' loan estimates or fee worksheets, it's very important to pay attention to the lender fees and the origination fees, because a lot of people don't, unfortunately, and that's where I have to come in and educate folks, is they need to pay attention to what the lender is disclosing them to what it's costing to get that rate. Is it $0 to get a rate, or is it $4,000 to get a rate? Some of the online lenders are very good at that. They might tell you like, yeah, hey, you know what, we're at 4.875 for an interest rate today, where I could be at 5.25.
Mm-hmm.
So the consumer hears that like, oh man, we're going with these other people. But what they don't understand is like they're paying for that rate. And so it's very important to get a fee sheet and look at what the origination charges are, because I guarantee you, I look at plenty of loan estimates, they're charging you for that interest rate.
And you're talking about like Quicken, right?
Whoever, I mean, and it could be, there's plenty of them out there.
B of A does the same kind of thing, right?
For sure. I
B of
mean,
A, Chase.
because unfortunately, the consumer is not educated enough to look at the fee sheet and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm actually paying $4,000 for that rate." the only thing that they look at is that first page of that loan estimate. It has loan amount and then it has interest rate right underneath it. And then from there, it seems like everybody just goes blinder. So that's why when we send out a fee sheet or we send out anything, we give options. Like, here's your option at 4.875, 5%, 5.25. Here's three options.
Oh, I got you. Okay, that's why it's a loaded question. That's why you can't say this was the interest rate, is because they have every buyer has
Every
an
buyer has
option.
an option.
What they're, yeah, okay, that's really good to know.
Personally, I personally don't think there's a reason to buy down an interest rate right now. I really don't, because I truly believe that you will refinance your mortgage within 12 months. Unless something crazy happens, I firmly believe that you will refinance that mortgage. So if it costs you, let's say you lower your interest, let's say you pay discount points right now and you lower your interest rate by a quarter. So let's just say you're saving $50 a month. Okay, well, it might take you 48 months to recoup that investment before you start seeing a return on that investment. So why would you buy down the interest rate if you're going to refinance in 12? Like, you just lost that money. That's why I would not buy down an interest rate right now.
Really?
But no.
Okay.
And well, unless we need it for you to qualify.
So how expensive is it to buy down an interest rate, and where does that money go? Does that go into the loan, or are you paying that closing cost, right?
Yeah, it's part of the closing cost. You're bringing extra money to closing to buy down a rate. So let's say you have a $400,000 loan amount and you needed to buy it down 1 point. Well, that's $4,000 in discount. Okay, and not a
Wait. One. Did you say buy $4,000 to buy it down 1 point? Like,
well, 1 point might only take it down a quarter in percentage.
Okay. I got you. Okay, so we're not talking about percentages. Okay.
Yeah, between eighths or quarters in interest rate, there's basis points in there, margin, and depending on how it's being traded that day, you could buy it down from 5.5%. 1 point might only get you down to 5.375 or 5.25. It's not like it's going from 5.5 to 4.5.
Right, and that's cash that you have to bring to the closing table,
right?
Rather than waiting until the rates settle back down at 3 and just refinance at that point.
Correct. There's no reason.
Gotcha.
But
okay, that makes sense.
Back to like our back to the main point is what can take the best interest rate, and the best interest rate. So, and we're talking about conventional mortgages, okay? Because conventional mortgages and government mortgages are different, okay? As far as how they're structured and with interest rate. So
we're talking about conventional, right? Okay.
Conventional mortgage, you're going to get the best interest rate at 740 and higher. Okay. That's where you have the lowest loan level pricing adjustment. What do I mean by loan level pricing adjustments? There's add-ons, what we call loan level pricing adjustments, that come in from the investors, and that's how we deliver it to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Okay. There's actually 36 loan level pricing adjustments that can be considered in mortgage pricing. So 740 has a different loan level pricing adjustment than 720, but the best interest rate is available at 740. That's where the best pricing comes in.
Okay.
That has the lowest adjustment for credit score.
For credit score. Okay.
Yep.
And then what about what other factors? I'm going to pull up your post you were talking about real quick, so we can talk about some other. Make sure I have the right one pulled up. I think should just be here. Yeah, here we go. All right.
Yeah, so I posted this on Instagram and Facebook. I think like 2 days ago. So you can follow me at Bell Mortgage Team on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll be able to see all my posts. But you can see, when people ask like, "Hey Ben, what's it take to get the best credit score?" Here's a great example of what credit score is made up of. And you'll see the largest percentage is payment history. Are you paying your bills on time? Or what we would call ability to repay. And that is the biggest section of what makes up your credit. Second is credit utilization. How much credit are you using? Are you overextended? Or are you over 30% of its usage? Meaning if you have let's say you have $1,000 credit card and there's $600 balance on there, that's weighing down your credit score. You're not going to have it could lower your credit score until you get that credit utilization, let's say below 30%, meaning that $1,000 credit card, we need to get your balance down to, let's say, $300 or below.
Okay? Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, it's amazing how much that affected it.
It really does.
I didn't realize. I mean, I did that myself. I didn't realize like how much. I didn't realize how much my credit card debt was really affecting it, and it didn't take much to pay it down to below 30%. And when I did, I mean, my score went up by 100 points. I mean, it was crazy how quickly. So that's really all right. Keep going.
And the next one is length of credit history. I mean, we see a lot of kids coming out of college, or even even some people who just entered the workforce, and they've never had credit. Well, length of credit, you haven't proven back to your payment history. You haven't given us enough history to show that you have the ability to repay. So you might not have, even though you might not have a whole lot of debt or bad debt or anything like that, you still haven't proven your ability to repay. So it takes a little bit of time to get up, above 740, up into the 800s. I mean, you have to have some sort of length of credit history to do so. New credit debt, how many open accounts do you have? Is it good debt? Do you have a couple credit cards with, $10 balances on there? Do you have a car, student loans, whatever you're paying on is new credit. And then of course, the other 10% is credit mix. Do you have a variety of things for us to show that, you could handle debt? You have a car, student loans, credit cards. Do you have another mortgage, home equity line of credit? And even now you can start self-reporting bills, like, and that was like Equifax Boost or something, one of those programs where you can actually go in there and you can start reporting your power bills, your cell phone bills, to start building credit as well. So that's another great tool where you can actually start self-reporting.
Oh, really? That was through how do you do that? Do you say through Equifax?
Yeah, Equifax. I think it's Equifax Boost, and I think they all have a Boost program now where you can actually go in and search, and you can put in self-reporting debt that they will actually monitor as well to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. And as I say, credit score is very important to get the best of the best. That's what we look at, because it's going to determine what program we push you in. Are you going to qualify for a conventional mortgage, jumbo mortgage, FHA mortgage? Of course, VA is a little different, USDA is a little different, but just the government and conventional credit score. I'm not saying, do you have to have a 740 to get a mortgage? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can, we do government mortgages down to 580 if we need to. Are they pretty? Okay. Are they fun to do? No. I've done plenty of them. I'm actually doing a couple right now. They're not fun.
What makes those not fun or more difficult? You're an FHA loan, right? Is what you're talking about?
Or VA.
Okay. I didn't realize VA can go down to 580 as well.
Well, truthfully, VA doesn't have a loan limit.
Really?
Excuse me. VA doesn't have a credit limit. It all depends on how much risk the lender wants to take on. I know some lenders that will go down to, they'll sign off on a 500 VA if you can prove that maybe you had something in the past that's weighing it down, but you can be shown that you've paid your bills the past 12 months on time, and you have what we call residual income, and you have reserves and all that fun stuff. So don't think that you have to have. And it all depends on the lender's appetite for that risk as well. So you definitely have to have what we call strong compensating factors for an underwriter to sign off on that. Do you have a clean verification of rent, or a clean verification of mortgage where you haven't missed a payment in the last 12 or 24 months? Do you have reserves? If something happens, do you have a couple months reserves to get you by? Do you have, what's the payment shock, right? Are you going from an $800 rental to a $2,000 mortgage? That's really tough to convince somebody of, right?
Gotcha. Okay. So that
payment shock.
Yeah. Okay. So lenders take that into account as well, and you call it payment shock.
Payment shock. If we're having to do it like a manual underwrite, something below 620 or even above, that's a great compensating factor of an approval where, what's the payment shock? Are we going from an $800 rental to a $1,000 mortgage? Okay, that's doable, right? Are we going from an $800 rental to a $1,700 mortgage? Ooh, what other compensating factors do we have? Do we have reserves? Is there somebody that's not on the mortgage that has income coming in? That sometimes that can be a compensating factor. As I said, reserves, all that residual income, like what's left after taxes and everything, after you pay Social Security, federal, state withholdings in your paycheck.
Right. And I'm sure savings comes into that. Cash on hand comes into that too, right?
Sure. I mean, and we use 401k as reserves. We use, IRAs, stocks, all that, retirements, checking, savings, money market. Can't use cash. Cash.
Oh, in duffel bags, you mean?
Yeah,
garbage bags full of trash.
It's very hard for a lender to document cash.
So if one of your clients just brings you a trash bag full of $100 bills, you can't accept that.
Not unless we can show it coming out of the ATM.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, so we're like blasting through this thing today. We only got about 7 more minutes. So if anybody has any questions about what Ben's talked about what I've talked about on the market, as far as what's going on with multiple offers and things like that, let me know. I wanted to show one other thing right now, and then I want to go back to Ben to talk about. He just talked about what the perfect profile would look like, but let's next after this, let's talk about what just a good one would be. Like somebody who is in good shape and can feel pretty confident, or you will feel pretty confident about their profile, but maybe it's not the the best looking one. So what I wanted to show was this these charts from FMLS that and I'm going to make this full screen so everybody can see it, that I show. I normally do this about monthly on like Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, just to show where we were the month before, and it's lagging. So that's why it's the month before. So we've only got up through April right now, but here in a couple of days, once we get into June, we'll be able to see what happened in May. So if you've never seen any of those videos before, well, rather, if you have seen me talk about this before, this is just going to sound very redundant to you. But if you haven't seen it, this is a really good explanation and picture of really where the market is right now. Okay, so we can do everything from sale price to days on market, how many homes for sale, how many showings it took to get one under contract. This sale price, obviously, it's the first one, probably the most important one to anybody. This shows like just how steep the median price in the Atlanta metro area. This is just the Atlanta metro area, has risen since basically the beginning of 2020. So at the beginning of 2020, the median price in Atlanta, the Atlanta metro area, was 244,000. And even in April, last month, it continues to go up. And in April, it went up to 385. So in the Atlanta metro area, the median sale price now is 385. So that's 2 years. I mean, that's just like incredible appreciation. But the other thing to look at, and what's driving this, and why we always talk about how this is not a bubble. This is not a housing bubble that we're in. And the reason why is because of demand. So this really shows that right here. If you look at months of supply is one way to look at it. This is how we, gauge how many homes are on the market, or how we measure it is months of supply and how many months it would take to sell everything on the market. If you look back to July of 2019, we were in a strong seller's market here, but it was, we had 3.5 months of inventory. So it was a strong seller's market, but it wasn't as competitive as it is for buyers right now.
Right.
Then it just dropped off through 2020 and 2021. And now we're at 1.2 months of inventory. Another way to look at that, to put it in perspective, is homes for sale. So when you look at just how few homes are actually for sale right now, that's another way to get a good idea of why the market is so competitive right now, why we're still seeing multiple offers on everything, even though interest rates are going up a little bit, and there's all this talk of inflation and recession and all this kind of stuff. So back in that same time frame, summer of 2019, we were in a seller's market. So, really good time for sellers, but buyers were still able to purchase something.
Yep.
Then you come down to where we are now. There is a third of,
that's crazy.
Basically a third of the properties on the market. The entire metro area, Atlanta metro area, there were just under 11,000 homes for sale in the month of April. That's total for the whole metro area. So that's crazy. Anyway, this is, it's just a chart, so I don't want to bore you guys going over every single one of them. But another thing, that if you're interested in getting this and looking at your area specifically, I can, send it based on your zip code, your area, your neighborhood, the size of your home, all that kind of stuff, if you want to see just how things are doing in your area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's all that. We still have a couple people still watching. Okay, so last thing, Ben, we told people we were going to talk about pre-approval and how to get the best, what the best credit profile looks like. What is a just pretty good credit profile if somebody maybe doesn't have all of the stuff you talked about before, but they're still in good shape to buy a house?
Right. And the thing is, at the end of the day, everybody's number one goal should just be to get into a house, right? You don't have to get the best rate right away. You can always refinance down the road.
Yeah, that's a good
Your
point.
number one goal should be, can I get into a house? The number one thing you need to look at is, what's my current credit situation, right? That's going to determine the program. How much down payment do you have? You don't have to put down 20%. You can put down 3%. We got programs that are 0%. Okay. Last year, my average down payment was 8%.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I think that was a chart that you put out. I saw that. Yeah.
My average down payment last year was 8%. My average credit score last year for 12 months was 713. Okay. Yeah, I did plenty of mortgages in the high 700s. Yep, I did plenty of mortgages in the mid to low 600s. So you don't have to have a perfect credit profile. You don't have to have 20% down to put down. Your number one goal is to get into a home and start taking advantage of appreciation.
Yeah.
100%. And that's, so things to look at. Are you managing your credit? Are you paying your bills on time? Do you track your credit? Are you using tools like Credit Karma or CreditWise on your credit card, or FICO, whatever? Pretty much every major credit card now has some sort of credit tracker. Use it. Pay attention to it. Keep your debts down low. Pay your bills on time. Save for down payment. Work history. how long you've been on your job, are you salary, hourly, do your hours fluctuate? There's a lot of factors that we look at on the employment side. So, those are the three main factors that determine your mortgage, and it also determines which route we go with program.
Gotcha. All
So
right. Well,
the thing I can say is please, please, please take care of your credit. Try to, do your best. And,
right.
we understand that things happen,
Mhm.
but we can work through those. As I said, we can do manual underwrites on the government mortgages under 620 if we need to. Well, we can do a mortgage, manual on anything on the government side. So
Cool. Well, thanks, Ben. I appreciate it, man. It's good seeing you, good talking to you again. If anyone has any questions about any of this stuff, please feel free to give us a shout. There's
sure.
Ben's information, and then my information right there as well. And then you can also look us up on Instagram and Facebook. My handle is at Stanley Group ATL, and Ben, yours is at
Bell
Bell
Mortgage.
Mortgage Team. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And I'll get that added up there too. So thank you for everybody who watched. And this video will be edited down by me or someone else, and I'll post it on Instagram and send it out in the email too. So that's all I have, Ben. If you don't have anything else for today.
Week 2 in the books. Let's keep it rolling. Appreciate you, Tyler.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. We're gonna do this every single week. Rain or shine, vacation or not, we're going to stream for 20 to 30 minutes every Thursday at 4 p.m.
I will be streaming from the beach next week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'll be streaming from the beach like 2 weeks after that. What beach are you going to?
We're going down to St. George Island. We've never been down there. We have some friends who have a place down there, but we ended up getting a Airbnb or VRBO.
Cool,
nice place on
man.
the beach. So we're it's our family trip for the summer. So it'll be good.
Awesome. Well, have fun, man. And I'll talk to you next week from the beach.
Absolutely. Chat soon.
Later. See you guys.